properties for sale basically, and it's for like commercial properties. So you know how much the subscription is for that per month? For if an agent wants to use it so they can list their own properties for sale, or they can see other properties listed for sale, is $2,500 a month. It's like an alternative to Zillow. It's basically like Zillow, but for commercial properties, it's $2,500 a month. And I would always tell people, like this software that they made, CoStar made, maybe costs like $5 million or so to make. That's not like a little amount of money. That's a lot of money. But let's go to some people in like, Silicon Valley or whatever and find investors and get $10 million and make an even better alternative to them. And nobody listened. That was 4 years ago that I was saying that. And CoStar was nothing at the time. You want to see something crazy? You know how big CoStar is right now? Here, let me show you. Let me show you this thing really quick. Open the chat for like this thing. You guys are in this chat, yeah. If you look up CoStar and you look up their logo, right?
Yeah, wait. Yep.
It's this. This is their logo. Notice the design in that logo, okay? Now if you look up a different real estate company called LoopNets, totally unrelated. This is the LoopNet logo. Notice something a little familiar?
Oh, wait.
Notice something a little familiar?
Wait.
LoopNet is, by the way, if you ask people, LoopNet is their competitor. It's the second biggest one. They own the
Yeah.
biggest real estate platform and the second biggest real estate platform. CoStar, as a company, owns both of them. And back then we knew about this. Back then we knew LoopNet was like it's a cheaper version of CoStar. It doesn't have as many features. And even back then we knew it was super lucrative. But I never knew how lucrative it was until I started like just noticing. You guys know the website Biz Buy Sell, where people can buy and sell their businesses, like people can list their businesses for sale online. You guys ever heard of that website?
No.
It's Biz Buy Sell. You can go on the website and check it out. It's very easy to like buy businesses on there. Look at the logo for that website.
This guys is both all of his companies.
And then, yeah, people use that to like flip businesses. People I know check on there all the time. This is one that you might know. This is one that you might know. Look at the logo for apartments.com. I'm not even going to send it. Just go on apartments.com and look at the logo. And here's a new one that I found out about recently, homes.com. Homes.com is also owned by them. And guess what? Land.com is also owned by them. All these incredible domains. And there's another one called 10X, and they have a giant skyscraper in Atlanta, and all it like it's ridiculous. They probably spent like $10 million to make their software, and now their company is like a $10 billion company. And there's so many other companies like this that are always popping in and out of real estate. There's all these new AI companies and all this stuff. And I would always tell people at this office, like, stop, going wasting your time, getting paid hourly to show home buyers like a 3-bedroom house. No, spend your time making software to innovate this like old industry that's like very ripe for innovation. Work smarter.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because
You're right.
there's when I looked at it in real estate, there's actually like if you're digging for gold versus selling shovels is not only more profitable, it's actually easier in real estate. So there's a few ideas that I thought of. So let me actually I have a list here. So the first one is one that I thought of a while back, but now it's kind of saturated. That whole idea is like if you go on the website Biz Buy Sell, or other websites like that where people are selling their businesses, if you look at the descriptions of what they're selling, they're also selling the properties that they're on. Like a car wash business might be selling the property that they're sitting on as well, along with their business. And the business might be worth like 500K, and the property might be worth like 700K, and they're selling the business for $500,000. You could potentially buy the whole business and get an extra $700,000 property that they don't even know is worth that much, just completely free. because a lot of these like business owners or people who, get businesses inherited to them through their like parents who recently died and they post it up on Biz Buy Sell to get a good asking price or whatever. They don't even know how much the property is actually worth. A lot of them, but right now this is actually pretty saturated. I'm sure there are some circles out there on Biz Buy Sell. It's very saturated. Like, and I'm sure there's like in tech and things like that. Or like for inheritances, there's got to be a way to find leads. If you're good at finding leads, or someone who's good at finding leads who can come up with a creative way to do that, I'm sure there's a way to find like a consistent group of people who don't actually know what they have but are willing to sell the property because they're willing to sell what's on it. Um, and I don't know how much you guys know about real estate. Some of these are a bit complex. Um, but I get, I'm not gonna say the complex ones, I guess. But okay, so here's one of the ideas. A super obvious way to make money in real estate, and this is another one that's getting saturated right now, but there's still opportunity. It's buying foreclosed properties. Um, and do you guys know how that works?
I'm actually no.
So property taxes are really low. They're hardly ever a big deal. Like if you own a property, you have to pay property tax, but at least in the United States, and when real estate companies are owning properties, they have systems in place to pay all the taxes. In the state that I live in, the tax right now is like 0.8% of 40% of the property value or something like that. Something very low. So if you own $1 million property, that's like uh, $300 or something a month or something like that. And if you have $1 million property, you could pay 300 a month. So you could charge 5 million, $5,000 a month for rent. So you should be able to pay the property tax. And it's absolutely imperative that you pay the property tax because if you don't, the government will, even if you paid for the whole thing, it doesn't matter how expensive your property was, they'll take your entire property, the whole thing from you, and they won't give you anything. All because you failed to pay $300 or whatever. And what they'll do is they'll actually list your property for sale. They'll list your tax sheet for sale. And if someone comes and pays your taxes before you, they'll list it up. And like banks will have it and all that stuff. And you can pay them back. You can pay the taxes back plus some fees, and you can get your property back. Or somebody else, if they find your tax sheet, they could just pay your taxes for you. And if enough time passes and you don't pay, then they get your property
Yeah.
for that tiny little cheap amount that they paid for the property taxes. And if you do pay, then that money goes back to them. So there's no loss in it for them. It's actually a OP strategy. And it like at this point it makes no sense why companies are not just buying every single foreclosed property and just paying property tax for it because they're going to get all their money back. And I'm sure some of them are like in the process of doing that. But that also requires like a lot of investment. Actually, not a lot of investment, but some investment. It requires some investment. And also finding the tax sheets before like the banks do and all that stuff. It's tricky and it depends on like the state and the county. And I mean, you're not in the United States, so I don't know how it works over there, but um, there's also this is an idea that I wanted to share with some other agencies. Um, and this is like for, if people already own a lot of property, right? The way that property tax is calculated is it's based off of the value of that property. And so let's say there's a property worth like, $5 million and you sell it for $10, right? Then that'll lower the percentage of property tax to where it's like basically nothing. And then they can give you $5 million like in some other way for like a consulting fee or whatever. And this is not gonna slide. Like the government is gonna look at this, but you can sell it for like $100,000 or whatever, and they're not gonna do anything about it. They can't do anything about it. And so I would tell these guys like, hey, why don't you guys just do these deals like this, like kind of under the table and like chop up the value so that way government doesn't take that much property tax, right? Because it's based on the percentage of the property itself. So that was one of the ideas. Um, there's also this thing called a 1031 exchange that you can do in real estate, and um, the way it works is like you it's kind of a tax thing. It gets a bit complicated, but it's a way to avoid taxes while buying real estate. But like a lot of people know about that idea already. Um, the way like a lot of my ideas were for very specific things. Again, you're not in the United States, so like a lot of the ideas that I had were like if I was talking to people who were like near me in the same state as me, I would tell them like these are good ideas because the way that like people pitch ideas in real estate is the the whole idea behind it is it has to reach its highest and best use. That's like the phrase that they use. Like a business has to have their highest and best use on that piece of land. If there's a better business that can go on that land, then get rid of the one that's on it right now and put the better business on there. And you have to find like uniquely qualified properties to be on that land. So, do you guys know what stigmatized properties are?
Mhm. I'm actually hear that, but not too much
So,
information.
it's ones that have like there's like a murder that happened on them or something like that, or somebody reported something in there, or like a bunch of people, had a heart attack in there, something, suicide in there, something like that. And because of that, they end up being super cheap because nobody wants like to buy a house where somebody was murdered in before.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so what you can do is you can actually like buy these houses, a lot of them, for like pennies on the dollar. Like you can buy a like stigmatized $1 million house for like 100K. And then if you're going in like like the traditional route of real estate, you could probably sell it, for like 150K or something, right? If you renovate it and all that stuff. But if you try to find uniquely qualified properties, right? You could probably spend another 100K making it into like a haunted house and make it one of the most legendary haunted houses because there's real history behind it. So you're using its weakness as an advantage because stigmatized properties are cheaper, but it would actually drive even more traffic to something like a haunted house. So that's like the whole idea behind like finding properties that you're taking advantage of a weakness and you're turning it into a strength. Like there's certain areas that are like, not good for actual properties, but they would be great film locations and things like that. But that's like this kind of thing is still like it's still peanuts compared to like, making some kind of an app or something like that. Um Now this one is a bit of a like a scummy idea. Actually, no, it's kind of complicated. Um Here's one. Do you guys know about casino boats?
No.
You guys know,
Like casinos, like the ones IRL or online. What do you mean?
like so gambling is banned in a lot of places. Like even in the state that I'm in, it's banned. But there's a coastline here. There's a beach here, and so what a lot of people will do is they'll just go onto the boat. And it's like a very expensive boat. It costs a lot of money to get on there, like $2,000 for like a ticket. And then they'll go out into international waters, which I think is like 18 kilometers into the off the coast. And then boom, that's it. Gambling allowed. Now they're in international waters, so the state laws don't apply anymore. And so like
Oh,
there's a lot of
oh,
these.
I see, I see.
Yeah, there's a few of these boats that already exist, and cruise ships do it already. You can go on a cruise ship, even if you're in the United States, where gambling is not allowed in most places in most of the states. You can go on a cruise ship and you know go out to sea, and gambling is allowed when you're 21. But you can go out on a cruise ship, and they'll let you know, like they'll make an announcement on these cruise ships. Okay, if you're 18, you can gamble now. Anyone that's 18, and they all go to these casinos and they all gamble. And so there's a few boats that already do it, but my thing was I had some ideas for it, like getting people with like a lot of like internet points, a lot of clout, right? And getting them and just basically paying them to show up on the boat and making it like a very high class, you know, make it like an exclusive club, right? Like an exclusive poker club with a super high buy-in, like $10,000 buy-in, and make it only for like big businessmen and celebrities and actors and musicians and that kind of thing. Only like the people that can actually afford it, because nobody's done this with a gambling boat yet. Nobody's made it like a very big like a club thing, and this is like the same idea behind like selling high ticket, I like very expensive items like in drop shipping, because if you find the right market and you have $1 million product, you only need to sell it once to get $1 million, and if you have a $1 product, you need to sell it 1 million times. So, and nobody's doing this with gambling boats. Nobody's selling to like the very very highest like top end buyers. I've been on one of these gambling boats before, just with my friends. Just like we tested it out as like a little vacation for one of my friends' birthday parties, and it was like the worst experience. Like it was so dirty and ugly, and like it was like not well maintained. It smelled bad and all that stuff. And it was like if somebody did it right, it could make so much. It could be like a big thing. Like on social media, people would talk about it, and people would reserve seats and things like that. That was that was an idea. Um, though, like a lot of these kind of rely on you like knowing a bit about real estate, like the
Yeah,
way that.
one
Mhm.
of excuse me, one of your ideas really caught my attention. About the one that if you pay taxes instead of the other person, you can actually get their business, get their everything for you, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So um, I was wondering if you can provide some websites that I can look more into this.
yeah.
Like this is really amazing and
Yeah,
interesting.
I know a couple of websites, but they're bought up really, really fast. I'm sure somebody can make like a bot that scrapes the websites. And there's a ton more websites to find. Like if you do the research, you'll find a lot of websites. But after the call, I'll send you some websites. Let me make a note of that actually.
Thank
Send
you.
tax
Yeah, that was my
sheet.
idea. I was looking to like automate the process and accept every possible text that I can buy instead of anyone else. And
Yeah, yeah. There might be a way to automate it. Yeah. And in fact, I know there's a way to automate it because it is a digital system that the courts use. So I mean, this would require a ton of money, right? But if you have a lot of money, like millions of
Yeah.
dollars, you could probably go to the courts themselves and say, okay, I'm gonna pay you. We're gonna revamp your system. I want to automate your system, right? And then you can automate it directly through the court. So that way you buy it before it even goes up on the website.
wow,
But that would
wow,
require a
that's
lot of money to deal with the courts in that way, you know? Um,
Yeah. Also, you know what?
mhm.
So you say about that. So what do you think about to making money first to invest in this business? We have to make a lot of money to invest in this business because if you just start this business without money, the people you share this idea with will get the lion's share of you, you know?
Yeah, true,
Uh,
true, true. But I'm only sharing it with you guys, you know? I'm not like posting it up online or anything like that. I'm just sharing it like in this call and stuff. And there's not that
yeah,
many people in this Discord server. And, you know, most of the people that are really out here like making a ton of money are usually not on Discord anymore. Now they're just using their money in like private circles and stuff. They're not actually like talking and listening to ideas like this. But yeah, this was just like a few ideas that I had, you know. Just wanted to like run them by
they're
you. I got a
great.
few more too. So, um, one of them was, and I don't know how long this one's gonna last because this is like a legal thing. There's like a lot of issues with this right now. One of them was, you guys know Airbnb, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so in the terms and conditions of Airbnb, they don't actually guarantee that the property that a person is renting is even real. Like they don't require that it actually exists. Turns out,
So
like,
I can rent something online.
yeah, if you rent an Airbnb and it doesn't actually exist, that's
Mhm.
it turns out like in Airbnb's terms and conditions, they make that your fault. Like it's your responsibility to know as a renter if the property is real or not. Not the
No
person who
way.
owns the property. Yeah, so there's a system to exploit there. Like if you and it's actually a bit tricky now because Airbnb got in a bit of hot water for this. So now they completely shut off all applications for creating new properties, for listing new like rental locations. But if it opens back up, someone can make a bot like that creates accounts like random strings of characters for names and things like that, or gets like a list of names from the internet or something, and then makes a list of like common house rules and just checks everything off, and then just generates a bunch of new properties. This is like totally illegal, I'm sure, but and then just has all the money sent to PayPal because, or however they'll pay it out, right? And
Wow,
because it's totally illegal, like
yeah,
it's like a
yeah, that's
complete
so
scam.
dirty. That's so
Yeah,
dirty.
it's a complete scam, but there's a real exploit in there that someone could probably do, you know? But yeah, that was just a idea that crossed my mind. I would never actually do it, but it's an idea that crossed my mind. Too risky, too risky.
Yeah,
There's a lot of things like that are the thing is in real estate, everybody breaks the law every single day. Like it's literally illegal for
Exactly, exactly.
yeah, real estate is I've talked to people, some people in real estate, people that are like very close to me too, and the moment they get into real estate, they all tell me like it's if you're not breaking the law in real estate, you're not making any money because too many things are illegal now. Like if you're an agent, you literally if somebody asks me if I have a license, if I have a real estate license and somebody asks me, "Hey, this neighborhood, I'm thinking about buying a house here. What are the demographics looking like in this area, right? What kind of people live there?" I can't tell them. It's illegal for me to tell them because there's like discrimination laws. They might go like, people have been sued like, oh, you're trying to sell this property because there's a lot of black people in this neighborhood, but you're trying to make it seem like you're not allowed to say these things. Like it's literally illegal to just tell people something they can look up online. Like public information, it's literally illegal to do that. There's a lot of laws for this kind of thing. And it's like American real estate in general is very, very restrictive nowadays. Like, but there are also ways to take advantage of that. And this one's another shady one, but there's nothing illegal about this one. So let's say you have a competitor, right? And this is just an idea. It's just a creative idea. It's not something that we could ever do. But let's say you have a competitor. And I know a lot of people in real estate that have like big competitors. Like there's like Remax, which is a big company, and their competitor in the state that I live in is like Skyline 7, which owns a bunch of like skylines basically, a bunch of like skyscrapers. And let's say your whole thing is you want your competitor to lose money, right? These companies make so much money that like to them it's better to spend a bit of money to make their competitor lose a lot. And it's really shady, and I would never do something like this. But the most important thing in real estate is zoning. Okay? Do you guys know what zoning is?
no, not really.
So zoning is basically what you're allowed to do on a property. Like in a neighborhood, every single property is zoned as a residential property. You're not allowed to build a gas station. You're not allowed to tear down your house and build a gas station. It is zoned specifically for houses. You're not allowed to like in some
Yeah,
places you're not allowed to even run businesses out of your house. You're not allowed to like sell, clothes out of your house because it's not zoned for that in some areas. Zoning is the
yeah,
most important thing. If you can get your property zoned to something more open and free, then even if you can't do something, you can go to an agency and tell them, "Hey, my property is zoned for this. So buy my property for way more than I bought it for," and somebody will do it. Like and zoning is super expensive to do. To rezone a property, to get it zoned to something better, is extremely expensive. Like, for example, a skyscraper. They cost so much money. They're like very, environmentally detrimental and that sort of thing. And like, people are very like, oh, we don't want more skyscrapers and that kind of thing. And there's many hurdles you have to jump through to get a skyscraper zoning, right? And so let's say you have some like your competitor has some like big zoning thing. You could see it on the records. There's a website right here, by the way, if you want to like. I think you can sign up for this website for free for a little bit, maybe FMLS, and it'll show you like you can go to any property in the United States and it'll show you the lot, it'll show you the size, it'll show you what it's zoned, it'll show you all the codes that are associated with it, it'll show you even who owns it. You can look up who owns any property. And now most of these properties are owned by companies like LLCs, and the owners behind those are hidden. But a lot of times you could find the actual owners, or you could just contact that LLC to buy the property from them. But that's like, I just put it in the chat here. It's called FMLS.
Yeah,
And
George, real estate.
yeah. You can go on there to like look up the zoning. And so if you look up like the zoning for one of your competitors, right, you see like Skyline 7 LLC owns this property, and they just got it rezoned to something like a skyscraper, right? A lot of these like big rezones will cost like $100 million or something, like an insane amount of money, sometimes more. Actually, a lot of times more. Some of these skyscrapers cost $1 billion. If you wanna like just make your competitor just go completely bankrupt, all you have to do, and this is totally shady, but it's not actually illegal. You all you have to do is bury a body on that property. So you can literally go, you don't have to kill anyone, but go to someone who, like, in the probate court, who had a family member that was recently deceased, and tell them, hey, I'll give you $100,000 to bury the body on this land. And if the body's buried over there, they can't build. They can't do anything. If they spent $100 million on that land, I guess they're out of $100 million now. And that's
How is that legal? How is that legal?
it's literally, you want to know how? Because Christianity influences the laws. And people will say, like, a lot of people will go like, oh, there's the American laws are not religious, right? They'll say that kind of thing. They'll say it's separate, like there's separation between church and state, like the law is not based on any religion. You know what it says in the law? It says burial sites are sacred. It literally says the word sacred. It is actually religiously influenced. And like, okay, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is completely irrelevant, but it literally is influenced by religion, and like people don't even realize that. But if, like, if you have a direct competitor that put all their eggs into one basket, actually, depending on the property, you could actually this is an easier way to do it. You take an endangered plant species, right? There's a lot of plant species that have a lot of diseases that are plaguing them, and they're endangered, and they need to be protected, right? They're protected plant species. And I think for smaller properties, like that are not like $100 million, but even like $1 million properties, if you want your competitor to basically be out of that property and be out of $1 million, lose $1 million, you can take a endangered plant species, plant it on that property, and they can't remove it. They're not allowed to legally, so they can't build on it anymore. And
Like, can't they like transfer the plant or anything
I think it, I think it,
somewhere else?
I think they can, but it would be really, really tricky. It would be really expensive to do that, because a lot of like the American population is very like, oh, you have to protect the endangered plants and these kinds of things, right?
Oh
They're
yeah,
very,
yeah.
so it's like really, really tricky to do that sort of thing. It would cost such an insane amount of money, and I think for the very big properties they can do it, but for anything that's like $1 million, around that much, like $5 million even, I think they would just cut their losses and just go build it somewhere else. Like it's that difficult to do that. Like there's literally cases of people, like, how people have trees in their like front yard or whatever for their house. There have been cases where people have like someone, ran into someone's tree with a car, and the tree got knocked down, and that person got fined like $500,000 and stuff. Like, I'm telling you, Americans love their plants. They love their plants.
Bro, that's amazing.
Yeah, even if the house is worth like $300,000 and that's how much they bought it for, the tree is worth like $500,000 if you try to get rid of it. And they'll sue them for that, and they'll win. This was yeah, that was like it's an idea for like, a big company that I would just like tell them, I'd consult with them and be like, "Hey, you could pay me for consulting, and this is an idea I give to them to like, get an edge over their competitors." And if we ever, come across some big real estate agency in some server or something like that, someone that works for them, hey, we might, make them sign an NDA and pitch the idea to them type of thing, you know? So
You
Yeah.
have some absolutely amazing ideas, not
this
gonna
is
lie.
yeah, this is an idea that I thought of recently, by the way. And this is like my favorite idea actually, but I don't know if you guys will understand it because I don't know if it's over there. Do you guys have Anytime Fitness, the gym?
Yeah, uh,
Yeah.
I do go to the gym.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, Anytime Fitness is actually it stands out because you I mean, do you have specifically that gym, the gym called Anytime Fitness?
No, no, just a random gym in my area.
Okay, okay. So there's a gym called Anytime Fitness that's over here. I don't know how big it is worldwide, but it's from a business perspective, it's simultaneously the best and the worst gym at the same time. It has unbelievable potential, but the company itself is like hanging by a thread right now. It's like in, a lot of trouble. And
Oh,
the main benefit to Anytime Fitness is how many of them there are. It's literally the like the biggest gym in the world for how many locations it has. It has like thousands and thousands of locations. And it's the one I go to because I like to travel a lot. And so everywhere I go in the United States has an Anytime Fitness. And I go to a lot of places that don't have a lot of other gyms, but every place has an Anytime Fitness. And most people won't know about like this unless they knew that. It's also like the thing about it is it's 24/7. It never closes. On holidays or anything like that, it never closes. And a lot of times employees are not even there. See, employees, they work there like 9 to 5 or whatever, and then they clock out, they leave, right? But if you sign up for a membership, you get a key card yourself. So you can go in whenever you want. If you wanted to go in at 3 a.m. on a holiday where nobody's working there, you could just scan your key card at the door and you're in. And that's the whole idea behind it. So it's like each gym is like a small location, relatively small. It has like only the essentials, only the things that you need, but it's a little more expensive than the other ones because there's so many of them. And what I would do is I would pitch them like because they need it. They need it right now. They need some help. I would consult with them because I go there and I see the problems, and I would tell them like, "Hey, give me some shares of the company or something like that." And I would tell them what they needed to be successful. And really, what it is they just need more methods of monetization. Like first of all, it needs to be easier to sign up. Um, and I don't know if you guys know about like these things, but like I'll just run through my ideas anyways. Like they have large sign up bonuses where you get discounts. They don't need to have that. They can just get rid of it. They could just make it easier to sign up because it's very difficult to sign up. You can't sign up through the app or anything like that. Also, when you sign up, the gym that you specifically sign up at is the only one you can go to for the first month. And then after that, you can go to any other Anytime Fitness in the United States. They need to get rid of that. They need to make it so that you can go to any, and there's not like a, home gym that you're tied to. They need to capitalize off of the fact. Here's what they need to do. They need to capitalize off of the fact that this gym isn't just any time; it's also anywhere. That's their biggest selling point, and they don't capitalize off of that. They don't ever think about using that to make any money. Like, if I can go to Anytime Fitness and I can hold up, you're echoing.
oh yeah. Uh,
So yeah, drowned whale.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're echoing, I think. Like my voice is echoing on yours.
Oh, really? Sorry.
So like what was I saying? Oh yeah, okay. So like if I go into an Anytime Fitness, right? What I can do right now is there's like a fridge there and I can write my name on the fridge and take out an energy drink and it'll be charged to my account, which is a really good idea to make more money. But there's a vending machine in there that I can't do it for. And there's also a place where they have like microwavable meals that it uses a different system. I have to pay Venmo to a QR code to do that and write my name as well. And the way they do it is an employee comes and they find your name and somebody could just write somebody else's name and just take it. And they have to check the cameras and do all this stuff and it just costs so much money. All they have to do is just their company's so like it's run by all old people. They don't understand software. All they have to do is ditch the writing your name on a clipboard and just use the key card. altogether. Just use the key card for everything. Let people pay for it. Actually, you don't even need a key card. You let people pay for it using the app on their phone, like the
Okay,
NFC or whatever on their app.
if anyone design an app, it's
That
so much
would,
harder.
yeah, that their app is terrible. Their app is garbage, and tons of people have it. It's like the most popular gym app in the world, and it's also the worst one. All they need to do is they have to add a dark mode. Literally, if they add a dark mode, it'll cost them like what, $3,000 to develop a very good dark mode, like a really good dark mode, like $3,000 to their already existing app, and boom, that's like tens of thousands of dollars of more customers because they already have so many and they'll like going on the app. Also, they could have like a way to track your progress, like stored within the phone. Every time you scan your phone at the door, you go in. Every time you leave, it checks that you've left based on your location, and then you could track your progress, how much you've been going to the gym. People would love that as a part of the app. And none of this stuff is a part of the apps. And because it's all on the phone, you could have like QR codes for all these things. Like, let's say you're taking something out of the fridge, right? You don't need to have an employee come and find your name on the thing and read your handwriting and, charge your card and all that stuff. No, it could just be tied to the app. It could just be on the app. You set your payment method on there, and then you go to the fridge and you go, oh, I want this protein shake or whatever, right? I want this protein bar or whatever. And then there's a QR code. You scan the QR code using your app. It charges your account, whatever it is, and then boom, that's simple. Automated system, they'd make so much more money. And the thing is, because of the system, because the employees like have to do this and they have to check the cameras and they know each person personally, I can only do it at the home gym that I made my account at. I can't go to a different state and do this app. They're losing money because they refuse to make the software. And then, if your phone is dead, they could like sell the key cards for people to like open the doors. That way they can, get in. If their phone is dead or whatever, they can at least get into the gym, after hours while there's no one there. And you can still get in when there's an employee there, but like a lot of people go when there's no employee. I go very late at night when there's no employees and there's like barely anybody there. But yeah, that's like they just need to find more ways to monetize. They can have personal trainers and they can have fight clubs, which are illegal, but still people do it. Like swimming classes and like dance classes and all the other stuff that all the other gyms do. They just have to do all of it. And they have so many gyms to where if they implemented it, it would be so much more lucrative for them than it would be for any of these other gyms. And this is also like a real estate play because they can advertise because they have so many locations. Because like they can allow for billboards to be built on their property, right? They can allow for easements for billboards. And billboards are so lucrative, they would cover like, the entire rent of the entire building. And if they own the land, they wouldn't even need to pay rent. Like if McDonald's literally has more value. Their company owns more like assets in real estate than they do in restaurants. Because like these companies, when they grow to that size, they realize the real big plays are not in like the business on the real estate, it's in the real estate itself. Like Bill Gates, he used to own a bunch of like server spaces and all this stuff. And then he's like taking all the money that he earns from like Azure and all that and just buying a ton of farmland. He's literally the largest farmland owner in the United States. Like all these massive plays with all these businesses that reach that size, they all turn to real estate. Like they have to own the property. And all these anytime fitnesses, they're struggling because none of them actually own the property. They're paying really high amounts of rent for the properties. And if you own the property, you can monetize so much more because you don't have to ask for permission from the landlord to like sell food on the property, right? You don't have to, you just do whatever you want if you own the property. And like, I even saw, I was watching Shark Tank and there was this pitch recently where there was like this like milk vending machine, and it's like it gives you like tons of different kinds of milk, for like people who like want almond milk or this kind of, and you can make it into like protein shakes and all that stuff. And it's like a vending machine that did it, and it's like it was so cheap and like that's such a useful thing. Like I would so use that if I went. I wouldn't need to bring protein shakes or anything like that. I would just pay like $1 or whatever for like a really good protein shake while I'm already there. I wouldn't need to go back home and make one or whatever. And that like you just charge the vending machine like $1,000 to be in there. Boom, there's more money. They can make so much money. It's unbelievable like how much they're missing out on. And it's like I should have access to all of these things regardless of which Anytime Fitness I go to. Like I should be able to go to California, walk in at 3 a.m. and go to like the hot meals thing, which they have it, and just scan the QR code on the app on my phone, and it just drops the one I selected and just charges my card automatically and have it all connected to my account. But they don't do it, and they spend so much money on getting employees to manage all this stuff, which they can cut out the cost of completely. And it's like a multi-billion-dollar company. I don't know why they don't do it. And there's like the reason why I'm like I thought of this recently, and yesterday I went to the gym and I was even thinking like, man, the music here sucks. The music at every gym sucks. Like imagine being able to control the music of the place, with the app on my phone, like on Bluetooth or whatever. Like let's say I go on the app and I can add myself to a queue where like I enter my like the location is set because it uses my location on my phone to verify that I'm there. And then I connect to Bluetooth, um, and that way you can't spoof your location because you have to be connected to Bluetooth. And then I can play music like through my phone and it'll play through the gym speakers. Maybe that's like a higher tier, more expensive account that can do that. Or maybe it adds like, it's $36 a month. Maybe like the $70 a month, account, which they don't have. They don't have any tiers. They only have one account. Maybe like the $70 a month can add themselves to the priority queue. So like there's like 10 people at the gym, right? And when the person who's controlling the music leaves, the next person gets added to the queue. Or if they have a premium account, they get put in the front of the line. Or even music promotion. There's such a like a opportunity for music promotion because there's speakers that play music nonstop, whether someone's in the gym or not. The music is being played nonstop, and they just put it some generic radio station with no like offensive music on it, basically no cuss word music because they want as many people as possible. But every gym has like garbage music, so nobody's gonna complain if you play different music, because it can't get any worse. So like just let people pay. Yeah, basically just like let people pay to add like be like, okay, this is the Anytime Fitness playlist, right? It has, 500 songs in here. It's Spotify playlist. You can pay on the website to put your song in here and you pay every single day that it's on this playlist. And when you stop paying, it gets removed from the playlist. And people can add their songs on the playlist and each gym will just run through that playlist. So that way people can promote their songs. And they could just charge people so much to put their music on there because tons of people want to promote music. Or they could charge like there's a bunch of TVs in there, so they could charge like people to promote their visuals, like their YouTube channels or their live streams, their fitness content, and all that stuff. That's basically like a legal view bot if you really think about it. And when I started thinking about like all the things that they could do, where I thought to myself like, okay, if I was in a room with the owners of Anytime Fitness, what would I pitch them? Dude, there's so much stuff. They could sell ashwagandha, which is like a thing that a lot of gym people use now. They could sell coffee, and like, cause tons of gym people want to use coffee like before their workout to get more energy, or like tea or green tea. And they could sell athletic clothes, and they could have an area there for like a vendor to have like a stand. Like, okay, here's all the clothes and bottles, and here's like things that you can buy. They could just charge him a couple $100 a month just to keep it there. Boom, that's like the whole electricity bill covered. They could, sell vitamin D3 supplements. They should because they're so it's a very like small place. It's a very like it's a place that you go to like even to like hang out with my friends sometimes, and just like, plug my phone to the wall and just charge it and just listen to music and that sort of thing. Like it's that kind of place. So like and because it's open 24 hours, it never closes. They could literally have like a bunch of COVID tests there. They could put ATMs there. Like it shouldn't just be a gym. This is the great thing about Anytime Fitness because in its essence, it's not just any time, it's also any place. And like it could imagine it being like, CVS pharmacy closes, Walgreens closes, all these other pharmacies close. But imagine like the basic things like health wise, like if I need, Mucinex, if I need some like over the counter medicine or like NyQuil to like go to sleep or whatever, right? I could just go to, the Anytime Fitness and they'll have like a small stand on the side with all these like basic over the counter medications, you know? Because like, these things don't need you don't need a like a prescription to sell these things. Like they sell them on Amazon and all that stuff. It can be done. And like the CVS here, right next to where I live, literally closes at 11. And I go to the gym at 11. If I like, I could go there and like buy Fiber One bars or maybe buy deodorant or bug spray and things like that. There's like tons of like potential to like innovate. Like the same way Japan innovated with their like convenience stores for gas stations, and now they sell like whole like meals and like ramen and all this stuff in their gas stations and like better meals than most restaurants and like it's convenience stores. So that's basically all people do. They don't even go to supermarkets anymore. They just go to the gas station convenience store and buy everything they need. The same way you can really innovate on like a gym, particularly Anytime Fitness, because there's so many of them and because their business model is 24 hours all the time, anywhere in the United States. Like there's so many ways to innovate. And the first thing that needs to be done, it's such an easy thing for them to do, is to make a better app. Just make better software and everything else will follow. Like make it so that people could sign up for memberships on their phone. You know, it took me like an hour to sign up for my membership, and I had to talk to an employee and go to them in person on office hours and all that stuff while the employee was not busy doing other stuff. Like, if I could just sign up from my app, they would get so many more customers. I don't know why they don't do it. They're like, their management is so stupid. And like, it blows my mind that they don't, like, no gym sells like, high protein protein shakes, like 40-gram protein shakes and all that stuff. No gym does that. I've been to so many gyms. None of them do that. They all sell like very low fat, low protein because everybody has to be all health conscious. But just like so many people want these like milk cartons with like 60 grams of protein milks in there. You could sell them for like $2 a pop. That sounds like totally reasonable for people to buy. And milk is super cheap. Make it like a diluted protein shake that's like actually extremely lucrative. An entire gallon of milk is $4. Milk is literally cheaper than gas right now. It's so cheap to make these like protein shakes. All they have to do is like just sell it. It makes no sense for them to not to. They could sell like
So
15-gram protein
let's make
bars.
one sense.
Wait, what?
Like, what if we get a vending machine and fill it up with all the almond milk and all types of milks and protein shakes and monster drinks, and ask like the owner of the gym and hey sir, can we put it here? We can, um, and they will get a share or something.
Yeah, yeah. We would
Like,
have to basically pay them rent. We would have to basically pay them like
mhm.
$500 a month to put the vending machine in there. But yeah, that could totally be
It's
done.
pure profit.
Yeah, that could totally be done. I'll have to look into how much a vending machine like that would actually cost to run and maintain because I don't know how I would
I
get a
haven't
lot of these things.
looked up myself right now. Can you tell me what state do you live in? Georgia, I think.
Wait, what? Yeah, I live in Georgia.
So I'll look up vending machines there, and I think uh, first I want to know if it's possible if the gym owner will actually agree to this idea.
Yeah, you'd have to talk to them, I guess. You'd have to really like negotiate with them or whatever. But honestly, I think that it might work for a little bit, but after a while, you know what they would do? They would just say, "Okay, you can't be in here no more. We're gonna put our own vending machine in here," and they would just put their own vending machine. And because they have the
Yeah, but like we
resources,
can trick them out if they're going to actually sign up like a contract or something. I think it will be possible to
yeah, yeah, yeah,
have
yeah,
those stuff.
yeah. It is a good idea. It is a good idea. I didn't think about just doing it myself. Yeah, I don't have a ton of capital, and once again, yeah, to start all these businesses, we would need to make a lot of money to begin with. But yeah, that
Yeah,
was
that's why I'm saying we have to first make money, you know. Also, as I said, it's not my really to just make money from dropshipping. I also agree with you, you know, your idea is really good. But you know, from where we can find the money to we need in beginning, you know.
yeah,
Yeah, so maybe if we start with the simple stuff like
yeah.
Fiverr dropshipping,
Yeah, we got to do
and
stuff like
if we
that. We have to do
can
stuff
save
that
up,
doesn't take that much money to start up first.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If we can save up like about 500, just $500 dollars, we can buy a vending machine and fill it up, and
Well,
it
a
will never
vending
end.
machine is not going to be
It will never end.
$500. A vending machine is going to be a lot more than $500 over here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If it was
Yeah,
$500, I would buy it right now, today.
yeah. That's a fair. So I will look up maybe even used ones, like really
Yeah.
cheap ones,
I
and
I check, like, I occasionally see them online listed for sale, like on Facebook Marketplace and stuff, like used vending machines, and they're like in the like $3,000 to $5,000 range. Even though that,
three
like, they're,
thousand.
yeah, they're just simple machines, but for some reason they're so expensive.
Maybe those are like brand new or something.
No, they're like terrible vending
Something
machines.
used to, wow, and 3,000.
Guys, by the way, can you hear me?
So much.
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I will look it up. Yeah, we can hear you.
Wait, were you saying okay. Um, yeah, that was pretty much that whole idea. A lot of the other ideas that I have are kind of they kind of rely on you like knowing a bit about real estate. Um, like for example, I mentioned like the easement, the billboard easement thing, right? Do you guys know what easements are? EASMENT. Here, let me.
AS,
Do you guys? I put it in the chat just now. Do you know what that is? Easement.
yeah,
So
he's not. No?
easements are incredible, and they're like the like this is something that you could really like I think this is applies in like all countries or whatever too. Like, if you have a lot of money and you basically don't know what to spend it on, like let's say in the future, when we have a ton of money and we just want to like uh, put it into good assets, and you don't know what to do with it, just buy a bunch of easements. Just buy them up, because the way that it works is like this. Let's say I have a gas station, right, or some like restaurant or something. Somebody can come to me and they say, "Hey, I want to buy an easement on your property, the property that you own. I want to buy an easement on it for this like tiny little area." And I own the property that's like, a large square. They want a little tiny square on the little corner. What they can do is they could buy what's called an easement. And what that means is they have the right to use that little area of my property as if they owned it. And that's like the agreement that we sign, right? And so let's say I buy property for, $300,000. Sometimes companies will literally come to you. Like this happened to a person I know. They bought a Little Caesars for like $700,000. A restaurant. It's not like a person I know personally, but I got acquainted. I met them one time. They bought a Little Caesars for like $700,000. And they run it like it's like their business. Like they manage it. They do all that stuff. Like it's their main money making thing. And what a person did is a person came up to them a few years ago and they said, "Hey, I want to put a billboard on your property. I want to buy an easement. All we're going to do is take this tiny little parking spot that you have here, and we're going to buy this parking spot. Everything else you get to keep, and we're going to give you $500,000 for it." And that's it, like $500,000, just straight up $500,000. And like that person was who owned the Little Caesars was like, "Wow, this is incredible. I paid $700,000 for the whole property. I get to keep almost all of it, and I'm getting a $500,000 discount basically." And so that person put a billboard on that property. You know how much money that billboard makes? $30,000 a month, every single month. That's how much money that billboard makes. And here's the crazy thing: that guy never bought the property. He bought an easement. And the way that easements work is you get to keep it forever. And because you're not the owner of the actual property, you don't have to pay any property tax. You're not liable for anything. If a crime happens on that property, you're not responsible. The person who owns the property is responsible. They take all the liability and you get all the benefit. And in fact, because it's the contract in the contract, it's written as if you use it as if you own it. If they wanted to kick you off the property, they say, "Hey, get off the property." You could go, "No. In fact, you get off my property. You're on my easements right now." And you could kick them off your piece of land. They're not allowed to do anything to your easement. And you don't have to pay property tax if the thing goes under foreclosure and they fail to pay property taxes, or the government takes it, or whatever. It doesn't matter what happens. You keep that property and it stays with you forever. It's not even a lifetime thing. It'll be transferred onto your kids and their kids, and it literally lasts forever. There's no cost after the one time buying. That's why people are willing to pay so much for it. And I'm sure you guys know about Donald Trump. The thing is, Donald Trump became a billionaire in real estate through a few methods like this. Because you could be a millionaire in real estate if you work, if you work super hard for like 5 years. You could be a multimillionaire, you could have like $10 million dollars in the bank, but you'll never be a billionaire in real estate. The way you become
Exact.
a the way you become a billionaire in real estate is you have to innovate. You have to find some loophole. You have to find something that people are not doing and execute on that. You can't just do what everybody else is doing and just, being an agent and making $20,000 here and there and here and there. You have to find a way to make $20 million, $200 million. You have to find a way to really innovate and change the industry. And what Donald Trump did is he actually exploited the easement system. He would buy parking spots for himself. He would buy rooms in buildings just for himself. He would do all this stuff and he didn't even have any plan for it. He just took like loans and would just buy easements with it. And what would happen is someone would come along and they would go, I want to buy this property from someone. And they'd check the title, they check the documents with the state that you can order, and they would see, whoa, wait, there's an easement on here. What's this? And then they would go to Donald Trump and they would go, wait, I want to buy your easement from you. And Donald Trump would go to these people who didn't know any better. Let's say someone buys a house for $300,000. He would go to them and say, hey, I want to buy the land, 50 feet underneath your backyard for $100,000. And it's like, they're never going to touch that land. So they're going, yeah, absolutely, sure, take it. Free money, basically. But you know what happens? When the oil company comes along and they say, hey, we're detecting that there may be oil under your backyard. We want to buy the mineral rights. We want to buy the rights to all the land underneath your house. And we want to buy your whole property as well. And we want to buy that as well. These people will go, yeah, sure, you can buy my house for $1 million or however much you're willing to buy it for. And then the oil company will go, wait a second, we can't drill in here. Somebody else owns the easement. Even if we buy the property, they can buy the property and they still can't access it because they don't own that little area of land anymore. They've given the contract to somebody else. Even when a new owner comes, whoever owns the easement owns that easement. And all Donald Trump did was buy a sliver of land that the homeowner thought they were never going to use, and they didn't. But now the oil company goes to Donald Trump and they say, hey, we want this. Donald Trump replies, okay, pay me $20 million. And Donald Trump maybe paid like $1,000, $10,000 maybe for that easement. And he just kept on doing this over and over and over again. He would buy like random, like slots in the air. He would buy pieces of the air, basically. And then, maybe 10 years down the line, someone would come up to him and they would go, hey, we're trying to build a power line over here. Like huge companies would come to him and they go, we're trying to build a power line, but you own an easement blocking us. And he would go, yeah, I bought that easement for like $20. You could buy it back for, 20 million, and he would just keep doing this. And in fact, there's still so many Donald Trump's easements today that people are still having so much trouble with. I literally looked into it, because I heard from the people that I used to work with that they're building a baseball stadium in Georgia, about 30 minutes away from where I live. They're building a baseball stadium. And what happened is as they were building it, this is like a huge, like $100 million project. And it's not people that I know, but they, it's big news over here. So they heard about it. And so they were talking about it. They're like, oh my God, they're building a baseball stadium. They had to stop construction because randomly in the air, they saw that Donald Trump owned like a few square feet in the air and they just couldn't build there. It was like a really thin sliver of the air. And so they couldn't build and they had to go buy the property again from Donald Trump. And they bought it for, I don't know how much, like someone told me it was like $16 million. They paid Donald Trump for that. He still owns so many to the point where if you look this up, you'll literally find like GoFundMe's and, like people like going online saying, hey, can you raise money because I accidentally made a bad deal in the past and I want to buy back this easement from Donald Trump and he won't sell it for anything less than $10 million. And there are literally people asking for money, like trying to raise funds online. There's actually a fundraiser online to buy back all of Donald Trump's easements. Like it's a huge, huge deal now. And he took advantage of this way back then. That's how someone becomes like the next Donald Trump in real estate. And like, say what you want about Donald Trump, right? At the end of the day, love him or hate him, he became a billionaire off of real estate. Very few people do that without having some sort of deeper knowledge of the system. That's what he did. That's what a lot of like how they say, like, you guys ever heard the stereotype of how like a bunch of Indians own all the gas stations and like all over the place, like all the gas stations are owned by Indian people, they're all ran by Indian people. That's because Indian people, like the Indian immigrants that came a long time ago, found another exploit like this, not with easements, but like another exploit in the real estate law. And it doesn't work anymore, but they would exploit this to get more and more gas station properties and pay very little for them. And so that's really how it's done. And I'm good at like coming up with these kinds of ideas. I'm good at finding these kinds of exploits and things. That's like really what my expertise in. Anything that I get into, I'm always able to come up with like really good ideas. But yeah, we gotta start working on things that don't cost so much to start up, because now people know about easements, and now nobody will ever sell you an easement for anything cheap anymore. And besides, you can't even build real estates in Georgia. You can't even build billboards in Georgia anymore. There's already too many. They completely banned them now. So there's restrictions, and these are all ideas that we can do after we have a lot of money. I have a lot of ideas, but they're all things we could do after we already have a lot. That's like pretty much it. That's like I can, some of the ideas that I have are very, very complicated. That's pretty much all I have. That's like, it's easy to explain. That's pretty much. There's also like, now Chat GPT is a thing. So I'm sure someone's going to use that in real estate somehow. I don't know how they'd use it, but maybe they might figure out a solution. Maybe some people's jobs might become obsolete. So yeah, what do you guys think? You both of you are muted, by the way.
Oh, I forgot. Sorry.
Well, I actually
Yeah.
really agree with your ideas, Exactly. If you want to cover sorry, because some people disrupt me, okay?
Yeah, yeah,
So I think exactly agree with you, because if we want to make a difference or make something best, we have to make some innovation, on that section, on that business. So I actually agree with your all idea, I like to discuss with this subjects, I hope you understand me.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Exactly, I agree with you. But as I say, uh, we have to also find great peoples, and also we have to make money to take the all of control to us. If you find some people to they invest to you, if you doesn't have a money, they take the all of control from you. They
Yeah.
take from your idea, your opinion, and you just look at these people. You're still looking. So first we have to, yeah, I'm doesn't say to we focus on just making money. I'm doesn't say that. I don't want to make money if I can start without money business. Uh,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just want make a side income like drop shipping, make money from there, and then use all of that money to make innovation and make billions. That's the way to make billions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly. I'm agree with you, because we have to make innovation in this business. We have to think differently. We have to saw the all of opportunity to where we can be the best. Like that stuff. So my opinion is exactly you're right. I'm agree with you.
Yeah, so let's get to it. There's nothing else to do but to, get to it then. Get to drop shipping, get to the Fiverr stuff if you're interested in that, and then um, put an ad on the website. I'm still working on the website, by the way, but yeah, now we just grind, I guess.
Yeah, we'll start.
But yeah, that's that's basically like everything you need to know, everything you need to know about me. Like I can come up with a lot of creative ideas. Executing on them is a different story, but I can come up with a lot of cool ideas for stuff. But yeah, let's get there's nobody else in here. Let's get out of the server and go back to the server that we have. I was waiting for Han to finish his real estate course so I could get him on a call and talk to him about ideas. I tried to get him on a call, talk to him, and I ran through a couple of ideas with him, and he was like, he didn't seem all interested, even though he's doing real estate. He's like, yeah, I'm kind of, working on some other things right now and all that stuff. So I was like, all right. I mean, if you're not interested in real estate, there's no point in wasting your time doing the real estate course, anyways. In real estate, there's three kinds of people: there's buyers, there's sellers, and there's agents. And agents do whatever they can to make money, right? Whatever side they're on, they'll just do their best. Buyers are people who have cash and use real estate to generate more cash. They use that cash to buy more real estate, to generate more cash, and then, but the cycle continues. And sellers are actually just buyers who want to sell their properties to get better deals. So there's really no such thing as a seller, honestly. In like, you know, there are people that want to sell their properties to start other businesses and things like that, but real estate is so lucrative at a certain point, it just makes perfect sense to get a bank loan to start paying off property rather than paying rent for it. Because rent will be more expensive too. You could literally buy a property for cheaper than it would be to rent it, so long as you can, you know, be confident in your business sticking around for a long period of time. And the thing is, like, in this world of real estate, agents only make a tiny percentage of the big exchanges done by buyers and sellers. The real money is not in being a middleman, but it's in being the, buyer or seller. It's in, like, making the exchanges yourself. And yeah, like the average IQ person can make like $15,000 a month, clocking in, working 9 to 5 on just deals, being an agent, right? But that's about it. Like, that's about as much money as you can make. Who do you think makes more money, by the way? Like, just, I know I'm not talking to anyone, but I have one viewer, so who do you, it might be a bot, it's probably a bot. Every time I have one viewer, it's never anyone talking in chat, but is it buyers or sellers that makes more money? Keep in mind, sellers are also buyers. They just do both. Buyers only buy, okay? Who do you think makes more money? That's right, the buyers. The buyers make more money. As much as people might like to think otherwise, less is more. Keep it simple. It's just like in stocks. When people get too deep, they get super deep. What do they always say? At its core, there's too many elements of randomness, especially in like day trading, right? Finding patterns isn't super difficult, but it's somewhat deceptive because a lot of times people will think they have found a pattern when really there wasn't even one there. It seems to be like a law of nature, right? People, in heavy traffic, trying to go from lane to lane to go past traffic, might think that they're actually going faster, but the data shows that literally staying in one lane, even if it's a slow lane, are going faster than, trying to go from lane to lane 90% of the time. The truth of the matter is, your effort also costs money. So keep it simple. A lot of times it's not worth the effort. People will just buy properties, sell it for what they think is a good deal, and the other person will get to collect the property and get more rent for it, and all while this person is doing these deals, buying titles, searching for titles, buying, paying people to do surveys and people who are construction workers to take measurements, and you know setting up these contracts and getting earnest payments and doing all this stuff. That person is spending those, like, next 5 months that this person is working trying to buy another property. He's collecting rent payments that whole time with no effort. He could be spending all that effort doing other things, optimizing the business on that property, cleaning it up, checking out the employees, hiring and firing as needed, things like that, like things that are really optimized. So, like, the way I see it in real estate, fuck the cash, bro. Fuck selling. Like if you really want to go that route, that's up to you. Like my little cousin Zaheb, he's 13 years old and he's already super interested in not in real estate so much, but like because real estate's too vague, right? He's interested in buying, renovating, and flipping properties. And if it's something that you want to do, I go for it. But in my opinion, the time you spend trying to sell your properties for good deals can be better spent buying better deals, like buying more deals and getting better tenants to collect more rent from. And like the core of this philosophy of real estate is something that I mentioned before. It's finding the best and highest use of a property, right? Governments don't charge property tax. I was going to get into this, but governments don't actually charge property tax on the purchase price of the property. They do, but that's usually because the purchase price of the property falls in line with this philosophy to a certain extent. There's overlap, right? Um, but they can't actually, like, do that. Otherwise, it'd be, hey, let me buy this property for, $1 and the rest of the money would be off the books. And that way I only have to pay like 0.02 cents in property tax or something like that. Governments actually have teams that go out and determine the best and highest possible use for a property. And they're not great, but they're at least something that the government has as somewhat of an assurance, right? And they use that to determine the price of properties, like the minimum price, right? Because people will be creative. People will find better uses for properties than what they can come up with. But they can at least find the best that they can find is what they'll appraise the property as. And so they're confident in like this being like a minimum amount that they should charge for property tax. And that's what they do. And that's also how they pay you for like eminent domain usually. And they usually tack on some extra money on top of that, just to, play into your emotions to make sure you got a good deal to expedite things, right? And you do have wiggle room for property tax because, if they appraise a property for $400,000 and you sell it for $250,000, they'll go with the $250,000 value, but they're not going to go with a $1 value. It doesn't work. They do have teams that go out and find the best and highest use of a property, at some point, whether a sale is made or not, right? And usually people actually don't reach the best and highest use of a property because people are so uncreative. Like the way I like to think about it is like what kind of property is uniquely qualified to be at that location, right? You think about the location, you think about everything that has to do with the location, you think about what kind of business. Forget residential, okay? Residential is stupid. Residential is only good if you want to buy yourself a house, okay? And you know what? If you want to automate things in residential, go for it. But what kind of property is uniquely qualified to go in that location? Better than any other property, where you can turn its weaknesses into strengths, like the haunted house type thing, right? So like if you got a lot of money and you wanna clean that money, right? You find a spot and you think to yourself, what is uniquely good for this spot, right? What's far and away above the rest of the possible businesses that could go on here? Putting a gas station is good anywhere. Um, Putting McDonald's is good almost anywhere. Putting a church is only good with religious populations, but it's especially good for religious populations. So the point where places that would have gas stations, you'd rather put a church there in very religious populations. Um, Putting a dispensary is incredible right in the heart of blue cities, right? But it's terrible in red cities. So let's say you want to spend the next few years working on this like social media shit, right? But you also want to make solid like real estate money. You just want to make an investment, just something on the side to give you some passive income while you work on this real estate, while you work on this social media shit. Just a simple investment, just something to prevent your money from going down during inflation. That's like the main thing, but also, maybe an extra $700 a month won't do any harm to you, right? Maybe you know some office workers, right? In a large office building. I know of an office building that's like 7 stories, legit, like 1,000 people or so clock in every single day. And you know where the nearest coffee shop is to that office building? Like a mile and a half away. But bro, like right next to the office, walking distance. You connected even. Just build a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts. Like don't even build one of the big ones. Build one of the ones that they have like, in the Kroger's or like the little kiosks, right? Build one of the ones that literally cost like $80,000 to build. Like that's something that's uniquely qualified to be in that spot. It wouldn't work great for a lot of other places, and it wouldn't take that much of a big investment. But dude, it would be crazy in a place like that. Let's say you want to go all out with it, right? Let's say you go like you find a good location in an office building, whatever, and you go like $500,000 all in a spot where it's like guaranteed to make like $3,000 a day, every single day, at least. So you round up 10 friends who want to invest, and for I don't know if you noticed, I don't know if you did the calculation. I'm gonna do the calculation real quick. Calculator. $3,000 per day, okay? Um, let's cut that out to about, let's do, this is not even a good scenario, but $800 a day in profit, or like $1,000 a day in profit, which is doable, by the way, times 365. Dude, after 2 years, times two. 2 years, you've made your money back plus $230,000. And like, if you buy the land itself, you buy an easement maybe, like, dude, that's incredible. That's incredible. And this is like, it's not going to take $500,000 to build a Starbucks like that. It's not going to. These kiosks that they have, these little uh, uh, like mini vendor areas, they're not $500,000. They're way cheaper. So like yeah, these kinds of like you have to look for things that are uniquely qualified to be in the position that they're in, right? If you haven't noticed, if you live in the area, right? I live in Gwinnett County in Georgia. Um, if you know anything about Gwinnett, if you've been there, you'll notice there's quite a lot of Indians around. There's quite a lot of brown skinned people around, a lot of Desis, Pakistanis, Bangladeshi people, Bengalis, right? If you want to call it, I don't know. But like, that's because we're actually all part of the same family of immigrants. Like, me and Nair did not meet in school. I used to go to his house when I was 8 years old. Or like when I talked about it in my school stream, the dudes that were in my school, like Sahil Ali and Ali Bamani and Mehek Kamani and Mehek Meherli and Inar Jawani and Zoisha Nurani and all these people, these Indian people, we knew each other way before any of this because we're all part of the same religion. We all go to the same church. I've known Mehek since I was like five. And there's a few restaurants that we all know about. There's like Indian spots, right? Like Gokul Sweets and Kebab Hut and Zaika. Zaika's the biggest one. And it's like, Zaika's actually like, it's like the Nobu of Indian restaurants in Georgia, right? There's only one. And it sucks. It's nothing like Nobu. It sucks. And I thought to myself, like, if all of us fuck with Zyka, like every one of us considers it like, the place, right? I don't, but I'm hardly even Indian at this point. Why don't they just build a Zyka next to the church that we all go to, the mosque? Um, and I thought about that and I asked my mom, turns out there's already a bigger church that we like would go to if we lived closer to it. It's in like the heart of this, it's in like Decatur or whatever, closer to Atlanta. Um, and that's like the biggest one of the churches for like uh, all these like Ismaili, it's for the Ismaili community. It's like the biggest Jamaat kana, biggest mosque, and the most people go to that one. And the Zaika is right next to it. The Zaika is walking distance from it, and they not only make money from like the restaurant, they make money from hosting events there and having like weddings in there and all that stuff. Like, this is this is what it is. They already thought about this. So that's an example of a property that's uniquely qualified to be in that position. And it wouldn't be so good anywhere else. But in that one particular spot, it's better than every, QT or racetrack or any of that shit. Like that is the actual best and highest use of the land. And the government definitely didn't come up with that idea when they were appraising the property. Here's one I thought of myself. And the guys that I used to work with told me this is a genius idea. Pretty simple. A lot of people have already thought of this, I'm sure. But liquor stores on city borders. You see, some cities and some counties don't allow for liquor stores, and some do. So what you do is you have to do the work and reach out to each city, and maybe this is what ChatGPT is good for, literally asking, what cities are liquor stores allowed in and all that stuff, right? I doubt it has the data set that it's trained on. I doubt the data set that it's been trained on has all that information, but you could probably feed it a crazy large data set of a bunch of PDFs and government documents and court documents and all that stuff that you don't want to go through yourself. Instead of calling these people, you could just have ChatGPT tell you after all that. But that's crazy. No one bothered to make a website with all these requirements. I think it's stupid. But, when someone finds out, they make their own database with their own little real estate buddies because they don't want their hard work to like help anyone else in real estate make money. Because at the end of the day, like what I mentioned earlier, this is competition. Real estate is not about making a lot of money. It's about making more money than your competitors. If everyone is making $10,000 a month, nobody cares anymore. Real estate doesn't matter unless you're making $100,000 a month at that point. People do want their competition to fail. And look, I'm not in the business for reasons like this. But yeah, what you do is this is a totally fine idea, and I would do something like this. But you find a city that doesn't allow for liquor stores, you contact all the cities around them, bordering them that do, and then you look at maps and you preferably get one that's as close to the heart of that city as possible that allows for liquor stores. And you build one right on the edge, right on that exit, right? And look, everyone buys alcohol. It doesn't matter if you make it illegal in your entire city, in your entire state. It doesn't matter if prohibition, right? People will buy alcohol. They will find a way. That's never going to stop. So everyone in that entire city, hundreds of thousands of people, if they want to buy liquor, what's their only option? So I never actually got to do this because it gets complicated and it's a very, very high investment cost. It's not like a required high investment cost, but if you're doing this, you'd want to do it right. You'd want to spend $10 million on a liquor store, because the liquor store could make like $10 million every 3 months if you play your cards right. And also it's a bit, it can get complicated. It's not just black and white. Like you can call a city and they'll say, yeah, the liquor stores are allowed, but you have to apply for a license. And if you don't already have a beer and wine license, then it's less likely you'll get it. And also your property must not be within 2,000 feet of a school or an elementary school, or it must not be within 1,000 feet of a church and all this and blah, 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 blah. Paperwork, bullshit, and politics. And it's a hellhole to get into. And I hate that business. But the thing is, this is a good idea. Find someone who isn't so smart, who isn't so creative, who compensates because they're willing to work hard, and tell them to do all the research and reach out to the cities and develop the database. And it's crazy because some of these, like, when you reach out to these people, you either call them, it's not like a chat online or whatever. Sometimes you literally have to fax them because government is so fucking out of date that they still run on paper and fax machines. So if you develop this database, that's already an insane amount of money that you could charge people a subscription for. You don't even need to build a liquor store. Just go to people who build liquor stores, which I know people. I can find them, by the way. And I could present them the most ideal locations. Like this is something like, let's say you pay a group of people to like, put a few $1,000s in, put a few, 1,000 hours in maybe as well, a few 100 hours at least, and spend like, a month or two developing like a full database of cities, with their exact requirements down to the dot, and then hit me up. Like I'll leave a link to my like Discord and my Instagram in the description. I check the DMs on both of them every single day. And bro, if you want to make money off it, you want to present the people who have millions of dollars to spend every single day on liquor stores, dude, come to me. I'm the guy that can link you with those people, These guys want to build a liquor store literally like once every week, and they do it. They do it. Well, they try. They do it like once a month or so. And I know how to present them with locations. You literally stand to make like $200,000 just for presenting a single location to them, maybe more. Yep, I mean it depends on the city and the county that it's in and all that. And but if you present a property that they would actually use, you can make something like maybe $300,000, maybe more, straight up cash on that very day, clean, taxable income. Or you could say you want a piece of the deal. Like you present the property, and this is what I would do, by the way. You come to me, I'm gonna ask for a finder's fee basically, because I'm not licensed. But you could basically like be like, I want a percentage ownership of the liquor store, and this is what I would do. If you use me to go through these people, I'm gonna say, hey, I want 0.1%, 0.3% of this liquor store, right? Because they're so lucrative that even that's like an insanely high amount of money. Um, but the thing is, like, nobody likes small deals. If I go to someone and I try to invest 1% of a property, they're gonna ignore me. If they can afford 99% of a property, they can afford 100%. So $200,000 may seem like a lot, um, and like there was a liquor store not far from here that literally sold for $29 million. So in this world, it's not a lot. It's definitely an idea, and it's something I might do in the future if I get the time to do it. If I get time to manage a team who's down to do the labor necessary to build that database. Um, but yeah, if you want to build that database and you got the cash to do it, you got the capital and the team to do it, come to me. I'll give you all the investors you need to literally invest like $10 million a day cash flow I can bring to you. Um, Another uniquely qualified property was the Aussie Plaza next to our school. Hella seniors would go ditch there. We got a lot of Korean people population nearby. I suspect they're also immigrants, or at least come from the same immigrant family from like maybe 50 years ago or so. Um, but it was kind of far from our school actually. It was like a half a mile, of a walk, which is not bad for people ditching. You make it work, but could have been better. If you find a school and you build something really close to it that students can ditch at, that would be like extremely ideal for a lot of different kinds of properties. You could find something really uniquely qualified there that the government definitely hasn't thought of. Um, Probably something with a brand, right? Because like restaurants, I'm sure they're aware of this. Restaurants will put their stores by schools, as close to schools as possible, like high schools, where people are just starting to drive, because the nostalgic connection to your first car and driving these restaurants with your friends, even if it takes a loss, because students who eat at that restaurant while they're in school are likely to keep eating there for the rest of their lives. So, there was a Moe's next to our school, and we went there, and I know a lot of people that still they go to Moe's over Chipotle every single time because that's what they, quote unquote grew up on, even though it's not like growing up, you're in high school, you're an adult, bro. But I mean, for me, my nostalgic restaurants are like the squad restaurants, the Taco Bells before it became completely trash, when it had that vaporwave aesthetic, or like Checkers from REC. Can't believe they only give us half sandwiches. Like, what the fuck? We're like growing children. Why are you giving us half a sandwich each? Um, or like even Steak and Shake to a certain extent. That was a squad restaurant for a little while. But yeah, we have like these are restaurants that are very nostalgic to us, but they were never like the high school. But for a lot of other people that are like more, that don't live as interesting lives as I do, the most interesting thing they'll go through is school. High school and college. So it's a good idea to build something like even if it's so expensive and it takes a huge loss for a franchise for a brand that is a nationwide brand. You'd want to build something right next to it that people would like really develop a nostalgic connection to. This wouldn't work so well for like a Subway because there's so many of them, but for something like a Steak and Shake, oh man, that would work great. That would work fantastic. And I know guys as well who can reach out to like any restaurant chain and present them with any kind of property. Like you can make, I'd say $20,000 to $80,000 upside based on the restaurant. Like a Panda Express $20,000. I mean corporate more obviously, and then Chick-fil-A $80,000 corporate more. I don't know if Chick-fil-A corporate actually owns any of their restaurants. Maybe they do. I'm sure they own some, but I don't think they're out here looking for investment opportunities like that in areas like this. I think they're just franchising at this point, and they're very involved with their franchises. But properties like this, or for example, there's a parking garage right next to Hartsfield Jackson Airport. That's literally, I think, it's got to be worth at least like 10, $12 million just for the parking garage. It's super tall, but just because it's right next to the busiest airport in the world, the Atlanta airport, it's worth so much. You could another thing I thought of was, well, you could find a neighborhood where there's like a bunch of Asian people and like teenage white girls and build a boba tea spot next to it. And it's not something I thought of. It just makes sense. I mean, every boba tea spot only looks for places like this. Um, I went on a hike in North Georgia a couple years ago, and bro, like we were dying. Like everyone was like dehydrated. Like we had to get water from like the gift shop, bro. They didn't have a place. We had to get water from the gift shop afterwards. You know what would be perfect? Right at the top of the hiking trail, as like a reward for getting to the top, there's a spot where you could buy water bottles and lemonade and smoothies and snow cones and stuff like that. Bro, that'd be great. They'd make so much money. And I can kind of see why they wouldn't do it because of the logistics of, it wasn't the safest hiking trail and bringing all that stuff up there, refrigerated, cold. Like, even managing to get electricity up there, I don't know how they, solar, I guess, but I mean, there's plenty of sunlight up there. But yeah, bringing all the trash down as well is not safe. It's not safe. But, at least have that at the bottom of the trail, right? Don't make me search around for like a restaurant nearby the hiking trail only to finally go into the gift shop and ask for a water bottle. Like it seems so stupid to not have like a stand there selling water bottles, like $2 a bottle, super lucrative. You can buy like a crate of water bottles for like $8 if you find the right place to buy it from. Makes no sense why they don't do it. That's the thing about real estate. You got to have a mindset for it. You got to be in like, 100% of the mind state of making big money in real estate if you really want to do it. You got to be driving around and without even trying, without even intending to, ideas should be popping into your head like, oh, what would go good here? Oh, this is a low income neighborhood. Oh, this a music studio would go here. That's when I thought of music studios, hip hop ones, like with like a perpetual weed smell. They don't do very well in the suburbs. And that means that they have a uniquely qualified sweet spot. Like it would literally be more expensive to put a music studio in Buckhead, Atlanta. And it wouldn't even make as much money as if you put it 20 miles south of Buckhead in Zone 3, where it's way cheaper and everyone's really productive down in Zone 3, and it's in like a low income neighborhood. So, like, you got that whole. And you know what else does really well in low income neighborhoods? Pharmacies. Pharmacies do extremely well everywhere, so it's not really like they're just a ultra lucrative, high barrier to entry uh, properties. If you could build a pharmacy anywhere, you stand to make a lot of money. If you can manage to do that, then you don't need me telling you to find a uniquely qualified position. You could throw a dart at the map and anything would work. But good luck actually building a pharmacy, right? Like liquor stores, they're worse than liquor stores. Liquor stores, I can find people that can get licenses. I can find people that have licenses already in smaller properties. They'll literally burn down their building and go like, "Hey, my building was burned down and I had a liquor license. Can I transfer the license to this property?" And like they'll literally go through these kinds of investments to do that sort of thing. Um, but yeah, I don't know anyone that's managed to get a pharmacy. That seems to be a bit of a closed off little buyers club that I'm not invited in. So, but for all these kinds of things, I mean, I might be able to find someone. Maybe I could ask around, but demand for these kinds of things are at 100% right now, and nothing is going to change that. Because, I mean, culture can change it, but like the culture's not changing anytime soon. The culture's getting worse. The culture's getting more and more like, oh yeah, you go, you be you, go drink and get drunk all the time and go buy the Stella Rosa from the liquor store and all that stuff. Like that's like the culture right now, right? It's to be a degenerate. And, you know, pharmacies are just the legal version of, crack dealers, basically. That's how they make most of their money. So, I mean, if you're in the business and you have a pharmacy that's 10,000 square feet versus one that's 1,000 square feet, you're going to be making about the same amount of money. Because, I mean, everything is so dense, everything's so compressed, it doesn't take that much space for inventory. Um, of course, the more square feet you'd have, the better, but it's not like a linear thing, right? People don't care about the size of the pharmacy when they go into it, like a restaurant or whatever, right? They don't need to. All they care about is that does it say CVS or Walgreens on the sign, like on the building, and if it does, they go in because they need to go. CVS has a lot of extra space where they sell like cookies and candy and Sharpies and shit like that, right? But if you go to a low income neighborhood and you find a corner where you can, get like a large plot of land, like 100K for the land, and you find investors to somehow bribe and rezone, which okay, I do know people that can bribe commissioners. But if you somehow manage to, get a, like, I mean, I know people that can do it, but they can't guarantee anything. And then you get like $1 million, and I can find those investors. And you build a little gas station with like 4 pumps, build a little liquor store, put a car wash right there. Dude, that does really well in low income neighborhoods. Apparently, low income neighborhoods like to flex their cars more than the rich people do. So, car washes actually do better like that. I mean, hey, I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't have all that much money and I don't care about, car wash. All I care about is how well does it drive and, you know, am I comfortable inside? Does it smell bad inside? I got to fix that. Things like that. I don't care so much about how the outside looks and all that. So I bought a Toyota Camry. So, and if you manage to put a small little pharmacy next to a convenience store, dude, $1 million investment, $2 million investment, let's say, you go all in, dude, the entire property will be worth like $8 million in 1 year. The hard part is finding a location. I can't do that. Um, Finding investors, I know people. I can help you with that. I know people who can front a lot of cash, and find people to pay rent. That's not a problem in the slightest. I know guys who can handle that in their sleep. But yeah, finding the actual locations, like this is what you want to be thinking about when finding the locations. I can't do it. If you can do it, if you have an eye for real estate, then think about like, okay, putting a dispensary in a low income neighborhood might be a good idea. But as it turns out, that's actually wrong. Low income neighborhoods are going to buy their weed from the cheapest possible source. And even after dispensaries are a thing, even after it's become legal, there's still taxes. It's still easier to buy from the dealers, still. Or maybe even grow your own, which a lot of people do now. You go to California, you look at people's balconies, everyone's growing their own weed. So dispensaries actually don't work very well in low income neighborhoods. I mean, they do, they work well everywhere, but they're not like uniquely qualified, you know? They're uniquely qualified in like very liberal places where everyone is like a fucking like non-binary samurai, right? I don't know why I said samurai. Oh, because the joke. But yeah, a lot of people if they're really broke like that, they'll just grow it themselves or just buy it from, you know, secondhand. Surprisingly, dispensaries basically work the best in super high-end neighborhoods. I just thought of an idea. Oh my God, this is a great idea. Put a dessert shop next to a dispensary. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. A group of college students walk into a dispensary. You can trust that the dispensary already did the due diligence to know that this is a good location, right? Where they'll get those kinds of customers. They already spent the money on that. The college students walk out. They definitely bought something, right? And when you buy something, when you make one purchase, you're more likely to make a second purchase immediately afterwards. That's why Twitch makes so much money because they allow people to gift subs and all that stuff, right? People are very attached to the money that they spend. If they spend money on something, they see the value in it. And when people start spending money, the money loses value immediately. There's a psychological factor in that. You give someone something for free that's worth $100, they'll be like, oh, I lost it, it's whatever. You give someone something that's worth $2 and you charge them $2 for it, they'll spend $100 to get that $2 thing back if they lose it. There's a psychological factor there. And when people spend money, they're like, well, I'm already spending money. I might as well spend some more, right? College students are walking out of the dispensary. They look to their left. Boom, Sweet Hut. Not even next to it. It's like in the corner. And they're like, fuck it. We might as well go all out. We're about to get high as fuck. This shit's about to kick in, right? These fucking Delta 10 gummies are about to kick in, right? Might as well get some shit from Sweet Hut. Might as well get some boba tea. Might as well get some fucking, I don't know, what do people get from Sweet Hut? Macaroons or whatever. I don't know. There's like some cake slices in there that are really good. And there's that like a Nutella filled bun thing that's really good. I like that one. That's what I get every time I go to Sweet Hut. But yeah, That would shit, dude. That would make so much. That would make so much. Or even like a small, bro, just like a small like ice cream place next to it or something, bro. Decent size investment of like $20,000 for like a little kiosk, a little plot of land. Dude, just sell Girl Scout cookies right there. That is the best place to sell Girl Scout cookies, right outside of a dispensary. Sell Girl Scout cookies. Sell those like world's finest chocolate or whatever, the ones that you get at school that you sell to people for like $1 a piece. Dude, nah, Girl Scout cookies it is. That's like I don't know anyone that sells Girl Scout cookies, but I have a few little cousins, and if I ever find out they do Girl Scouts, I'm gonna be like, all right, cool, we're about to cash out. We're about to charge a hella markup on this. Girl, this box of cookies costs $14. Nah, bro, we're charging $30. We're giving 14 to the school. We're keeping the 16 for ourselves because people will buy it, and we're setting up shop right outside the dispensary. That's what we're doing. But yeah. I mean, if you find a really good property like this, hit me up, and I can link you with some buyers. Any property that you find is like uniquely qualified for something, I can link you with people that. I mean, you won't even need to spend $20,000 to set up like an ice cream, stand or whatever, like a little food truck or whatever outside of a dispensary. You'll literally get like these guys will literally pay you $20,000 like every year for the rest of your life just for free, just for bringing them the deal, you know? Like a godlike deal, like a liquor store property, you can literally make $200,000 cash in one day, investing $0 of your own money, and then on top of that, make like an extra $5,000 a month every single month for the rest of your life. If you find five liquor store properties, 25K a month for life. Of course, I'll take a cut of that. I'd want a cut of that. I'd want $1,000 out of each $5,000, something like that, right? I'm just giving ideas though. These are free ideas, and that you can go around me and do them yourself. But I mean, if I was in the deal, I would put in some effort in having your best interest at heart. I'd want you to make money on it, for allowing me the opportunity to make money as well. And just to let you guys know, if you're interested in working with me on this kind of stuff, like I'm not into real estate anymore. There's only one thing I care about in this world, and that's content creation. It's making YouTube videos. And the way I see it is, if you make a fuck ton of money and we're on the same team, if one of us comes up, we all come up. If I make hella money from content, I'll be sure to help you out with your businesses as long as we're a team. As long as our businesses are going to help each other out, right? So really, these are just ideas. Do whatever you want with them. If you want my help with them, I'm totally down to help. But I'm really not going to take a leading role on any of this stuff. I'll just point you in the right direction, and let both parties know, like, hey, by the way, I'm going to take a cut of this deal, and I'm going to make sure it's, worth um, you know, my ability to curate connections, right? But yeah, if you want to go hard in real estate, you can take my ideas, run with them, or let me know. I'll put you in a position. You don't even have to spend any money. Just take the test, take the course, fill your head with as much information as you can, and go out and grind. So, yeah, I got a few other ideas. A lot of them are like scummy ideas. Like I don't know if you know, but if you've taken the course, you know about this like term, fee simple, conditional, subsequent, and the way it works is like you can deed someone a property, um, you give them title, you transfer ownership, um, and in that deed, or in the bill, no, in the deed, you put a condition in there, right? Any condition you want, and if they violate that condition, then the property goes back to you, and you don't have to give them any of the money back, right? An example where this is not so shady is like, I know guys who wanted to buy a property in a corner, right? It was on Satellite Boulevard, and it was this Arena Tavern, Satellite Boulevard and Sugarloaf Parkway. That Arena Tavern right there, it's probably still there. They wanted to buy it and turn it into a gas station. The project was like $3 million, maybe. Okay, maybe four, I think. But when the Arena Tavern guys bought the property, Chick-fil-A paid the previous owners who were selling it to the Arena Tavern guys to put a condition on the deed saying no alcohol, no cigarettes, nothing like that can be sold on the property within the next 36 years. And as it turns out, Chick-fil-A did this for every single property around them because they don't want any property like in the 1,000 square feet of their building, around their building. They don't want any property in that area to be selling alcohol or cigarettes. They don't want strip clubs or anything like that. Remember, this is a religious-based corporate group, right? Chick-fil-A is what I'm talking about here. So they put conditions on these guys like, and they were actually kind of open to selling it, maybe a little, not really, but for the guys who were trying to buy, if they can't sell alcohol and cigarettes in a gas station, to them that's like Usain Bolt shooting himself in the foot. And I've seen someone do this where they, try to abuse a system where they didn't actually do this, but they were planning on doing this where they sold a home for like 200K and they were planning on putting in the conditions like no smoking in the house, right? And sometimes people have that in their conditions. And that's crazy because hella people smoke in their homes. And everyone knows it. If the guy like sold the property with that in it, he was planning on like installing cameras or whatever, and he was going to try to find when they actually broke it, right? And look, contract law in general has its limitations and there's gray areas. But what this guy was going to do is he was going to like pay a mutual friend actually to like go in and smoke a cigarette inside. And the previous owner would be responsible for this. Or not the previous owner, the new owner would be responsible for this. The previous owner, because of this, would be able to get their money, would be able to keep their money and get the property back, transferred right back to them. And the new owner would just be out of $200,000. So, and he was going to pay the mutual friend like 50K out of that. All he had to do was light something up, something that everyone does anyways, and $50,000 easy. I've seen people try to put like talk about not try to put but talk about putting conditions on properties like, oh, this property cannot be sold to anyone in the future except for me. That one's got to be voidable. That one can't be a legit contract. There's got to be limitations against that. It's gray area, right? Uh, like I think people do this a lot with farmland in particular, where people will like they'll be like, yeah, we'll do this, but you can only sell it back to me, and I'll sell you the property, and that's how this works. And these people will go like, yeah, I'm never gonna sell it to anyone else anyways, and they go through some financial troubles. They buy the property for 500K, and they're in financial trouble, and they have to sell it back for like 300K, and they don't want to go through the legal effort of like, actually voiding that contract and stuff. Um, so yeah, a lot of people put like very conditional, you know, I mean, reasonable conditions on things, but a lot of people put very unreasonable conditions on things and they sell it to noobs. And you could totally do that and just, it's like, it's just printing money. It's printing money, basically. I would never do this, but, I mean, this is the real estate business, dude. Everything is either immoral or illegal. And you know what? A lot of times the immoral things are legal, and a lot of times the illegal things are moral. Um, like half of all the rezonings happen because of bribery, dude. I've seen it with my own eyes. But yeah, there's a lot of different things that I thought of. Tons of ideas, actually. If you want some of my ideas, by the way, I mean, at this point, yeah, at this point, I'm gonna have to charge. I've already given enough real estate free ideas. You want more ideas in real estate, like my good ones, my actual good ones? I'm gonna have to charge you a consulting fee. So, yeah, hit me up. Links in the description. Okay, bye, guys.